Rajiv S can have 50 videos, and that's my little university. Not difficult at all. You may have some, let's say you have some ideas that are not mainstream, for example, right? You create a university of your own, virtual university, put it up there, and you'll soon find out if you have enough customers. If nobody comes, well, maybe your idea is not that great. But if a lot of people come, hey, you know, your ideas are good, and maybe you can then monetize it. So you too can be a content creator. You, in fact, can be a university on your own. Okay, it's that simple. Audio content. The interesting thing here is, I'm pretty sure all of you have a computer, right? Anybody who doesn't have a computer? All of you have computers, right? Do you know that you can listen to a lot of Apple iTunes content on your computer? Are you aware of that? You do not need an iPod. Did you know that? An enormous amount of the content that is on the iTunes library is free, and you can listen to it on your computer. All you need is a sound card in your computer, and you can put earphones on. What do I listen to? One is iTunes University. They have a whole section that is about university material. They have stuff from MIT, Harvard, or Yale, Stanford, Berkeley in particular. University of Berkeley has a whole bunch of stuff there. So you can pick up all that stuff. And many of them are just lectures. You have a famous person, you know, coming down and just talking about something, and you can just, you know, listen to that, or you can watch the video, and it's totally free. Okay. Then other things that I listen to. One is the Harvard Business Review. There's a fair amount of content from the Harvard Business Review that's available for free. Not all of it, but some of it. The Economist, I mentioned that. That's also one of the things that I listen to. McKinsey Quarterly. I'm sure many of you are familiar with McKinsey, right? The management consultancy. They have a magazine called, a journal called McKinsey Quarterly. And they put up these 1-hour podcasts on the system, on the web, and you can easily pick them up and listen to them. All this can be done from iTunes. Okay, so at any given point, like for example, I'll just tell you what I have on my phone right now in terms of podcasts. Just to give you an idea of the variety of the stuff that exists there. Let's see, where do I have this? Okay, one of my favorites that I didn't list over there is a station called KQED. It's a radio station in California, in San Francisco. It's one of the best stations that I know, and they have these terrific speakers. So here are some things that I have downloaded. One is a talk by Isabel Allende. Are you familiar with Isabel Allende? You know of Salvador Allende of Chile? Isabel is his daughter or relative. Anyway, so she's a well-known writer. So there's a conversation with her. Here's another about the Higgs boson. Okay, the 1-hour program. That's what I learned. Pretty much all there is to learn about the Higgs boson. The conversation was between two physicists, one at the Stanford Linear Accelerator Center, and the other with a lady at the Lawrence Livermore Labs, who's on the ATLAS team at CERN. So these are people who are like directly in the middle of what's going on. So Higgs boson. Then another on, there's a talk by a lady named Lera Boroditsky, or an interview with her. She's a linguist at Stanford. She has some brilliant ideas that seem to suggest that Noam Chomsky, whom you may have heard of, may be wrong. Another is on an economic history of the United States, a talk with a fellow who wrote a book on that. Another is on news roundup of the Middle East, what's happened with Egypt. Right, so you can see, it's very broad, and obviously I don't read all of these, or I listen to all of these. Some of them I pick up, some of them I do pick up. Another on Obama's latest, poll standings, things like that. So like this, and this is one station. There are any number of other stations that you could listen to. And as I said earlier, the good thing is that podcast can be listened to while you're exercising or something, so it doesn't interfere with the rest of your life. Video, here's where I think I'll get off of this and start showing you some of these things, because showing is much more interesting than just talking about it. Simon Sinek, he has an excellent video on TED about leadership. Beautiful, really, compelling video. Hans Rosling, he is a biostatistician, and he makes numbers come to life. I already mentioned. Peter Norvig was the guy who, with Sebastian Thrun, taught 150,000 students, right? Then YouTube, I was teaching a course on communication, so I said to my students, go watch the following clips of leaders speaking, both positive leaders and negative leaders, right? For example, I don't know if you ever watched a video of Mussolini speaking. He's a compelling speaker, right? So what are the qualities that he brings to the picture in terms of his ability to communicate, right? There is this movie called The 12 Angry Men that's a favorite in OB courses. We can watch all these things. So let me just jump out of the PowerPoint and see if I can show you some of these things that we want about. Okay, let's see. We go to Chrome. Okay, so first, let's go to Khan Academy. Khanacademy.org. Simple as that. I hope this works. Okay, there you go. Okay, so here's something about. Okay, he's talking to LeBron James, who is a famous basketball player. But let's just go down here and see what's available. Algebra. Okay, solving linear equations, algebra, so on and so forth, and all free. So we'll find something that's of interest. Any topic of interest to you? Anything we'd like to search for? Finance. Okay, let's look at finance. Let's go up here. Specifically, anything in finance? Any specific topic? No? Sorry? What? Corporate restructuring. Fine. Let's see if there's something like that. That's a bit arcane. You may not have that. No, it's gone to the web. I'm sorry. So it's the wrong place. Let's see. Search for video. But you get the picture. You can search for all kinds of things. Type today. Okay. Corporate debt versus traditional market. That's all he has in that area. Okay. But let's look at finance and see what he has. Finance. And okay, let's just look at futures introduction just for fun. Simple video, just click on it. And he goes, oh, you can't hear this one. Yeah, can you just do that for me? Good enough. So now let's start again. Let's start from click below that.
Get involved in this work. A few questions start to Would they be able to maybe sell their obligation to someone else? So is there any way to trade?
You get the picture. So
the contract. And then there's another issue that.
Okay, like this. As you can see, it's absolutely trivial to go find stuff that's of interest to you. Okay? So Khan Academy has, as I mentioned, 30 to 100 videos or something as of now. And you can just search for whatever you want. And you can tell your students to use it. So that's one. Second, let's go to some of the other places that I was mentioning earlier. For instance, let's go to Udacity. Udacity.com, I think. Okay. Alright. Okay, take any of our classes, 100% free. Okay. And the Khan Academy actually has a whole bunch of other material for teachers, like how to create a lesson plan, how to evaluate, all kinds of stuff. So this is what they have now. Okay. So they're going to start offering these. These may not be very interesting to you because they're all computer science courses, but you can see where they're going. So let's look at MITx, which also has only technical topics right now. But as I said, they're eventually going to offer a full variety of programs. Since they have a tie-up with Harvard as well, they can get edX is their new, Harvard joint venture. So they're going to offer MITx, which offers online courses and MIT courses, will be a core offering of edX, as will HarvardX, a set of core offerings from Harvard. So the first MITx course is Circuits in Electronics, delivered by Anand Agarwal himself. I think I have it on this page, maybe not. So let's just do this.
Welcome to MITx, MIT's worldwide online learning initiative. We are delighted to have you join us for 622X, Circuits in Electronics, the inaugural course of MITx. Okay, welcome to 6002. 6002X is the same as the electronic circuits course taken by MIT students, as the first course in an EE or ECS major at MIT. This course will help you make the transition from physics to electrical engineering. In this course, you will learn about a lot of fun things, including the foundations behind very cool devices such as the smartphone. The course will be hard, and we want you to stick with us. It is our hope that you will have a lot of fun in this course. Let me start by introducing you to our team. I am Anand Agarwal.
Okay, good enough. So that's MITx. That's got what it means to create as well as use content that's on the web. Let me ask you, first of all, how many of you are regular users of the internet? Most of you, right? How many of you use YouTube? Something else? More fun, which is TED. Let's go with the TED. TED Talks. Talks. It's TED.com. Let me show you. Here's a bunch of stuff. So I want to show you the one that I was mentioning to you. It's great. Let's see. Search for.
So Salman Khan's lecture is available.
Sorry? Yeah, Salman Khan has a lecture. Yeah, there is one here. Talks about how. Yes, I have it actually on my phone. Let's see. Simon. And this is a really good video. This one was here. Yeah, I use this in my leadership course. Takes a minute. But I find that these materials, these additional teaching materials, put it in your book. That's a bad idea. I almost dropped it a couple of times. There you go. That drops.
How to explain when things don't go as we assume or better?
Full screen, right?
How do you explain that others are able to achieve following their assumptions? For example, why is Apple so big? Year after year after year after year, more innovative than all their competition. Yeah, they're just humans. They have the same access to the same talent, the same agencies, the same media. Then why is it that they seem to have something different? Why is it that Martin Luther King led the Civil Rights Movement? He wasn't the only man who suffered in pre-Civil Rights America, and he certainly wasn't the only great orator of the day. Why him? And why is it that the Wright brothers were able to figure out control powered man flight when there were certainly other teams who were better qualified, better funded, and they didn't achieve power man flight. The Wright brothers beat them to it. There's something else at play here. About 3.5 years ago, I made a discovery.
Okay, again, you get the picture of what it's about. Then we move on to another video that I mentioned to you, the one by Ravila. I think I shouldn't have started at the beginning, I should have probably started that halfway through, so which we'll do with Ravila. This is an absolutely outstanding video. Talks about, we use this case, the case of I care quite a bit, so students are enthused by this.
I've come here to share with you an expert from that one shape. And then we added several what we call institutional centers at the hub of the school, the model. Then more recently we started adding the hospital and the classroom.
This is the one that good stuff. The values that they have.
I used to sit with all the engagement because I have a colleague. And suddenly he jumped down and then seems to contact his inner team to simply go on with him. But he is a soul which has got all the simplicity of calm that, Doctor, whatever you say, I accept it. And implicit faith in you. And they will respond. Here is an old lady who has got so much faith in me, I must do my best man. When we grow in spiritual consciousness, we are into ourselves with all that is the world. So there is no exploitation. It is ourselves we are